Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to share a concept called stealth wealth. So the definition of stealth wealth is blending into a pure normal middle class, nothing out of the ordinary to avoid anger and resentment. So a mistake that I made when I was first getting into real estate and starting to buy apartment complexes, single family homes, and mobile home parks, and this was back in 2021, and I was shouting everything to everybody. I would share everything about what I was doing, what real estate I was buying, how I invest in index funds, and I was sharing that with coworkers, with friends, and I noticed a lot of anger and resentment. It just really shocked me. From my perspective, I wish someone would teach me and tell me. If they hear about all the assets that you own, they get angry because it makes them feel bad about themselves. And they start to resent you, not because of you, just as a projection to protect their own ego. So I started getting a lot of negative feedback, and it was really shocking to me. In my mind, I wish I would have somebody who was this open, this transparent, this willing to share. From then, I can learn and know it's possible so that I can do it myself and learn from them. That's the mindset that I have. What I learned is many people do not have that same mindset. Their mindset it's very constant, steady. Some have a victim mindset. But in order to protect themselves from hearing something that makes them feel uncomfortable, they're going to direct their anger and their resentment towards you. So I felt this firsthand. I share a lot about my wealth on YouTube. Honestly, this is for educational purposes. And this is kind of my outlet to share. But if you see me in person when I'm talking with my friends, I don't share anything about my wealth or my investments or what I'm doing outside of work. So if I told them I own 90 units, not very relatable. People instantly associate wealthy people as evil or arrogant. It's easier for them to reject it and paint it as evil to create a story in their mind that protects themselves. That's how our brain is made and geared. It's made to protect ourselves and create stories to protect ourselves. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who are wealthy and they're evil. My statement has always been wealth accentuates who you are already. If you're a good person, you're a good person whether you have money, whether you don't have money. It's just easy to get resented if you're kind of known as being rich and you own a lot of assets. That's what I kind of learned from my own personal experience. So let me talk about some stealth wealth rules that I learned. So the first rule is don't drive a nice car to a public setting. So I'm sure you see it. You go to Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. People will pull up in Lamborghinis, Audi R8s, McLarens, and they want to show off. They rev the car because they want that attention. I drive that same 2010 3 Series BMW that I bought used back in 2013. I still drive that same BMW. Don't get me wrong, BMW is still a nice car, but it's about right. Most pharmacists, when we graduate, buy a BMW or an Audi, so it's nothing different. You know, let's say I pull up to work in an Audi R8, my pharmacist will look at me differently. They would just say, wow, he's rich. He doesn't need to work. Why is he here? And they would treat me a certain way, might have resentment towards me, might have hatred towards me, and that's all because they're trying to protect themselves. In the future, if I do buy my dream Audi R8, when I go around in public, to be honest, I'll probably just drive my beater car, probably be like a SUV or something like that. So stealth rule number 1, don't drive a nice car in a public setting. So the second rule is don't flash your bling. So fortunately for me, I'm not really into brand name things like Chanel, Gucci, Supreme, Nike, all those brand names. To me, it's all the same. As long as the clothes kind of fits me well and it's simple and neutral and matches with everything. I'm not really into fancy watches or suits. I know a lot of guys, they own like 10 different Rolexes, but they're still working a W-2 job because they spend all their money on a Rolex instead of investing in assets that pay you. They're investing all their money into fancy liabilities. You know, if I spill something on a $10 shirt, I don't feel as bad. Versus if I had a $1,000 Gucci shirt and I spilled some wine on there, I would feel terrible. Rule number 3 is never reveal your full wealth. So once again, in person, I never mention how many houses I own, what my net worth is, or how much I make from my job. All my coworkers, they just know that I rent an apartment, and that's very relatable. If they ask me, I just say, oh, I'm looking to buy a house for myself eventually, and I'm saving up money for that. It's true. I never reveal my full wealth, and I come off very relatable. Rule number 4 is spread your assets around. So the rich own nothing in their name. What does that mean? You have to put your assets into LLCs. All my single family homes are in LLC. My apartments are in an LLC. My mobile home park is in an LLC, and they're segregated out, right? So I might have a couple single family homes in one LLC. Each apartment complex and mobile home park has their own LLC. and those are owned by a holding company LLC. Check out my video about my asset protection plan if you want more details. All those LLCs have ambiguous names, and no one knows that I own those. They're in LLCs, not my name. So all my properties and assets I own, it's not under my name. It's under an LLC name, which is owned by a holding company, which is owned by my trust. So it's hard to trace back who owns it. Or if you want to trace back, it requires a little more digging and work. So rule number 4, spread your assets around. Rule number 5, pretend you do not understand. This is the hardest for me because I'm very educational by nature. I love to learn. I listen to at least 2 hours of podcasts a day. I am constantly reading books. So I used to give people unsolicited education about how to pay off your student loans faster because I did it in 4 years. I paid off $250,000 of student debt in 4 years. It would just rub them the wrong way because people still have student loans despite being out of pharmacy school for 10 years. And they're just struggling to make the bare minimum payments. And me over here, I paid it off in 4 years. So it rubs them the wrong way. And I used to share, oh, you need to make sure you refinance it. You got to make sure you automate additional payments. You got to make sure that when you get your tax returns at the end of the year, you take the excess and pay off your loans. You got to ensure that you live humbly. It's just all this advice, and I was just giving it to people because I wanted to share. I was able to do it. You can do it too. Let me show you how. But it just ended up rubbing people the wrong way. So as a result, I just listen now. I ask questions, and if someone's explaining a concept that I already mastered, I just let them have their glory, have their moment, and instead of trying to outsmart them, or that's what they would perceive. So, for example, I had a friend who recently bought their first single family home, a condo. She was just going on and on about how amazing it was, how the process was, and she was definitely seeking a lot of that validation. And I was just asking questions about, oh, how did the loan work? How much down did you have to put? And why I ask questions, it's not to be condescending or mean or passive aggressive. It's because I might learn something. Like she ended up using a doctor's loan, and it has a lot lower down payment option. So now it got me thinking, oh, maybe a pharmacist qualifies for that same loan. I might have low down options as well. So I learned something from that and ask questions and listen, and do not try to one up that person and take their glory. Number 1, they will like you more. But number 2, you might have the opportunity to learn something because maybe she does own 500 units and I can learn something from her, but she didn't, but I still learned something regardless. Play it like you don't understand, and that's how you get people to like you while still being able to learn. Rule number 6 is praise others for their success. So whenever friends buy primary residence, I congratulate them. It's a huge milestone. Obviously I can easily one-up them and say, oh, I already own 90 units. I bought my first house 6 years ago. You're behind. But it doesn't benefit me. If anything, it just makes my friend frustrated, resentful towards me because I one-up them and took away their moment of glory. So rule number 6, praise others for their success. Rule number 7 is always stay humble. This is a lesson I learned in the past year as well. And I'm constantly trying to stay humble. My girlfriend is good at keeping me humble. So I do this by talking about my failures so others can learn from my mistakes. I always talk about my mistakes and my failures more so than my success. And I do that because despite owning 90 units of real estate, I still will continue to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and teach people about the mistakes that I make. And the reason for that is it's easy to put me on a pedestal because I own 90 units of real estate. But I want people to know that, yes, you can get there, but these are all the pitfalls. These are all the failures. These are all the hardships that you will go through, plus probably some additional ones as well. So I try to keep it very transparent so that you have a full understanding of what it's like to own 90 units. I even created a video talking about the highs and the lows of owning 90 units. It's not all rainbows and sunshine. And then the next thing too for staying humble is you never know who you're showing off to. So once again, imagine how stupid I would feel if I thought I was a hot shot of 90 units and I was talking to a billionaire who owns 9,000 units. By me talking and showing off, I lost the opportunity to talk to that billionaire and pick golden nuggets to learn about how he or she built their real estate empire that can help me build my real estate empire or shift my mindset or challenge a belief that I had to help me grow. By me talking, I lose that opportunity to learn and grow from somebody higher than me. And you never know who you'll come across, especially those. The richest people are the most unassuming looking people. So always be humble. Rule number 8 is understand pop culture and sports. So this is always something that I'm really good at, and it actually surprises a lot of people. So the average American watches 6 hours of TV a day instead of producing and achieving a high level. So for me, I had to cut out TV to focus more on building my podcast, to focus more on building my real estate portfolio, to focus on learning new concepts and shifting my mindset constantly and constantly developing myself. So despite what I do with 90 units, creating content, having a course, having a mentorship, and working full time, I still make an effort to watch, sports and Netflix. For me, that's how I wind down. I'm pretty in tune with most sports. I'm pretty knowledgeable about 49ers, basketball, baseball, whatever's currently going on. And same with Netflix. There's always this new show that came out that's hot, everyone's talking about. Like, for example, right now it's the Barbie movie. And I'm gonna go try to watch the Barbie movie just to, have conversations to talk about and seem relatable. Because instead of talking about how many assets I own, I can kind of small talk about pop culture and sports. Rule number 9 is attribute your success to luck. If people find out that you're wealthy, just say, hey, I got lucky. It seems more relatable. In a way, massive preparation increases your chance of luck. Luck is just hard work meeting preparation. That's all it is. So in reality, you honed your skills, worked hard behind the scenes over the past few years where no one saw you or noticed you, and the compounding helped you build your wealth. So that's what happened with real estate. Like, I didn't really start seeing the benefits of real estate until year 5. The first 1 to 4 years, I was just buying single family homes. Year 5, that's when I bought my apartment complexes.